All right, we need to talk about loopholes because Justin Posey, a man who has very clearly said there are no clues in the Legal Lowdown, also wrote 2 chapters about rules getting bent like cheap tent stakes. And I'm just asking a simple question: is that storytelling or is that storytelling? Welcome back to Trailside Debacles. Let's start with what Justin said about the case study. It was called Chase the Cat, Chase of the Thrill, Thrill of the Chase. If you're creating a treasure hunt and you're trying to avoid lawsuits, chaos, and people digging up National Park with backhoes, why would you talk about loopholes? Why even bring up the idea that rules can be broken? Unless you're warning us, or testing us, or messing with us, or just telling a really good story. Because both chapters, the Tender Tornado and the Weepul Winners, revolve around bending rules, bending expectations. And treasure hunters read that and immediately go, so what rules are we allowed to bend? The Tender Tornado is basically, as Justin put it, artistry of outsmarting systems that believed themselves foolproof. And he found the gap. The loophole. Not cheating, not illegal, but clever. And treasure hunters love clever because the entire hunt feels like it's built on clever. He said rules weren't walls, they were riddles waiting to be unraveled. So naturally, we ask, is he telling us, look for the gap in the rules? Or is he just saying life has gray areas? Because those are two very different things. And our brains, they prefer the dramatic option. A treasure hunter brain works like this. Justin says, there are no rules in the Legal Lowdown. We. But why would he say that unless? Justin says, there are no loopholes. We. That sounds exactly like something someone hiding a loophole would say. We are exhausting. Then we get to the Weepul Winners, which again revolves around, you guessed it, rules, structure, and the creative interpretation of both with a dash of mathematics. Now here's where it gets interesting. Both chapters are about playing within boundaries, but also pushing those boundaries, finding opportunities where others didn't. And that's the exact mindset of a treasure hunter. So when Justin writes, outwitting the system and finding that slither of a loophole, is he shaping the psychology of a searcher? Is he filtering for creative thinkers? Or is he just telling stories from his life? Because context matters. And what this also drives is that psychological profile he has locked up that we find very intriguing. Now let's address the elephant wearing a lawyer's lawsuit, the Legal Lowdown. Justin has clearly stated there are no clues or hints in this section, and I believe him. But here's the thing. Treasure hunters don't just read for clues. We read for tone, pattern, repetition, theme. If someone talks about loopholes twice in a memoir, that's not a coincidence. In our brains, that's a neon sign, even if it's not. We catch ourselves again where Justin says, no clues in the Legal Lowdown. Us hunters? Okay, what if the loophole is that there are no clues in the Legal Lowdown? So Justin's watching us spiral. Here's the deeper question. When someone says rules are made to be broken, are they encouraging innovation? warning about unintended consequences, filtering for bold thinkers, or just telling a story? Because treasure hunters hear and think, are we interpreting the poem too rigidly? Are we applying structure that isn't there? Are we missing something because we're playing too safe? Or are we inventing complexity because we want it to be complicated? Let's zoom out. Historically, treasure hunts have collapsed under ambiguity, legal interpretation, emotional expectation, and people finding technical wins. So it would make sense that Justin would address loopholes up front, almost like don't try to lawyer your way into this. But then again, he writes stories celebrating clever interpretation. So which is it? Encouragement or caution? Let me ask you, when you read those chapters, The Tender Tornado and the Weepul Winners, did you feel inspired, suspicious, amused, targeted, or personally attacked? Because depending on your answer, that says more about you and how you're treating this treasure hunt than it does about the chapter. This is the eternal treasure question. Is it intentional, or are we projecting intention? When someone writes about loopholes, is it a metaphor for life or a subtle nod to flexibility in interpretation? Are we just so deep into this hunt that every story feels strategic? Let's think about this for a minute. At this point, if Justin wrote, I like sandwiches, we'd be like, okay, but what kind of sandwich? Is it layered? Is the bread symbolic? Is the meat hidden? The man cannot breathe without us annotating it. Here's my take. I don't think the legal lowdown has clues. I don't think there's a secret legal hat. But I do think the chapters about loopholes tell us something about mindset. They tell us this hunt rewards creativity, adaptability, pattern recognition, not being rigid. There's a difference, but not rule breaking. And maybe that's the balance. So, what do you think? Are the Tender Tornado and the Weepul Winners just stories, psychological filters, subtle philosophy, or a hidden wink at flexibility? Drop it in the comments and let's argue respectively. And remember, sometimes a loophole is just a story. The hunt continues. See you on the trails.